And the reason why this has become a big issue for Waremont is because we feel this is actually one of the largest single transfers of power in a generation away from we, the peoples, towards transnational capital. And it's a power shift which is helping transnational corporations to see the Atlantic as their playground to be able to make profits almost without restriction. And that's why for us it's such an important issue. That's why increasingly across Europe, both in the wake of the elections and also in the run-up to the formation of a new commission later on this year, it's becoming a bigger and a bigger deal. Where did it come from? It was launched last year, so it's a new thing, launched by Barack Obama in his State of the Union address back in February, and the first round of negotiations between the European Commission and the US government took place in July. We've now had the fifth round. These negotiations take place entirely in secret, behind closed doors. The documents which are negotiated upon are completely locked. We've been told that there's a 30-year public exclusion on getting to see them. So, you know, it's going to be completely and utterly finished without our seeing at all. But actually the impetus for TTIP came much earlier. In the mid-90s, Transatlantic business dialogue was set up, where business on both sides of the Atlantic tried to push for a free trade agreement, to almost sort of bring a customs union like we saw in the European Union, but include the US. And it failed then, but they continued to harbour this dream of a corporate playground across the Atlantic which they could build, and it's only now that they're trying once again to put that into reality. But it's also useful to look at how this relates to the history of trade policy more generally. People have probably heard more about the World Trade Organization, the WTO, which was a big thing, say, a dozen years ago. We had the big demonstrations on the streets of Seattle back in 1999, and then the launch of the Doha round of World Trade talks. But these talks pretty much hit the buffers from 2004 onwards. And gradually, you saw the European Union, particularly under Peter Mandelson when he was the Trade Commissioner, and the US, turning more and more to bilateral treaties. So the multilateral forum of the WTO was abandoned. It's still sort of just about scraping along the bottom. But now they're putting much more faith in bilateral treaties. And the bilateral nature of the EU-US treaty, TTIP, is particularly important in this regard, because the US and the EU between them are the two largest trading blocs in the world. And what they can cement as a trade deal between them on trade and investment, that will set the standard for the rest of the world. And they're saying this absolutely explicitly. This isn't just about EU-US relations. This is going to be the gold standard, a template for everybody else in the world to follow. And the Chinese, and the Brazilians, and the Indians, and the Argentinians, everybody is being made to wake up and see this, not just as an EU-US thing, but as the start of something big for everybody around the world.